Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. We have our picture that we want to edit. It's not a bad picture, but maybe we want to make some changes to it. So the first thing I want to do over here in Photoshop is take a look at my layers. A picture that you open in Photoshop always comes in as a locked background layer. You'll see it named background, and you'll see the little lock. I've shown a few of you this already. I want to show it to everybody now. The first thing you want to do if you want to make any edits or changes in Photoshop is you want to right-click on this and do Layer from Background. You do Layer from Background. You don't have to give it a new name. You can just keep it Layer 0. I'm going to call it Original Photo. Hit OK. I like to name my layers as I make them. I find that that makes it a lot easier to keep organized. If any of you have gotten lost in your layers over the course of the last few projects where you could not find something when you wanted to find it, heed my recommendations and name your layers as you make them. You can right-click on any layer and you can go to Rename. I recommend renaming your layers as you make them because it will make your life a little bit easier to find the things that you want. So we've got our original photo here. Now, I want to do non-destructive editing. I don't want to destroy or permanently modify anything. So one of the first steps I want to do is I want to duplicate my layer. And I'm going to leave my original photo alone and make no changes to that. I don't have to do that.
From the interruption,
I don't have to do that. I don't have to make a copy because the types of changes I'm going to be making by using layers to make my modifications are non-destructive in their nature. So I don't have to do that. I'm OCD. I'm very particular. I don't like to affect things. So I like to have a copy anyway, so I've always got the original photo down here in case I need it. So the way that amateurs make changes to pictures is up here under Image and Adjustments. You are no longer going to be amateurs. I'm showing you this to show you the way not to do things. Don't come up here. Now this is nice and it's convenient for people because it's fast and it's easy and all of your stuff is in one place. But it's also destructive, meaning it makes permanent modifications to things. If I come up here and I say, let's change my brightness and my contrast. I don't think this picture is bright enough. Let's pump up the brightness a little bit. Where do I go to undo that? Control Z or Edit Undo, right? What if I save the picture and come back to it later? How do I then undo that? History goes away when you save and come back. Because the first thing in your history is open to photo. The answer is you can't. You can't undo it once you've saved and come back. So we do not use image adjustments or anything in this image file here, or this image menu here, to make adjustments to pictures when we want to be able to make continuous edits over different sessions. You're only here for 45 minutes a day, right? That is not enough time for you to make informed, accurate adjustments to pictures where you feel comfortable that you've made it the way you want it to long term. You're going to want to be able to come back to a picture later at later class periods and reevaluate what you've done and maybe make further changes. You can't do that if you've used this menu up here. What you're going to want are called adjustment layers. Okay? I can go to Windows, Adjustments. This brings it up. And then Windows Adjustments brings up an adjustment panel. Okay? And all of the things in this panel are the same things that were available to me in that image menu. I'll hover over some here. Invert, posterize, threshold, gradient map, brightness, contrast, levels, curves, exposure, vibrance, hue, saturation, color balance, black and white, a photo filter, channel mixer. There's more stuff in here even than you saw in that menu, really. Let's find the one that I was going to do. I was going to do brightness and contrast. Let's click on it. What did it do? What did you see as soon as I clicked on that button? What's the first thing you noticed? It created a new layer. Layers are non-destructive. Layers can be changed, modified, removed, and they are part of the file when it's saved, meaning that I can change them later as well. So as soon as I clicked on that, I also got this properties window over here, which is where I get to change my brightness and contrast. Let's do the same thing I did before. Let's bring my brightness up and say, hey, that picture wasn't bright enough. Now it is. And what if I want to see the difference that I've made? I can come over to my layers panel and I can see these little eyeballs over here. These eyeballs let me turn on and off different layers. This is true across the board, not just for making edits to pictures. Anything you do as you move forward in this class, turning on and off different layers will let you see the effect that layer has in your picture. Let's turn off my brightness and contrast layer. I go back and I see the original, which was the thing that's directly below it, right? As long as the next thing below it is my original picture, that's the thing I'll see. So I can turn on and off this adjustment layer and see the difference that that adjustment has made. Does that make sense? Super powerful there. So then, if I save my photo and I come back to it, I'm going to have this adjustment layer here. I'll have the same power to turn it on and off whenever I want to. And by selecting it and coming over to this Properties tab, Properties tab, I can make adjustments to it again if I don't like what I've done. So I can change it again. The power is still there. If I go to Image, Adjustments, and Brightness Contrast, there's a permanent adjustment that cannot be changed once the file has been saved. Do you understand the difference between those two things? So this is non-destructive photo alteration. You can always come back and make a difference later whenever you want to. Okay? So I recommend making your changes on layers. And you can get as complicated with this as you want to, and as fancy with this as you want to. You can get to the point where every single time you make a change, you make a layer copy and make the change in a copy. Okay? So now if I want to make another change to this picture, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to make my change on it. And then I'm going to make sure I'm on the layer that I want to affect. So let's say I want to make one of those healing brush effects that he's going to talk about. Say I want to get rid of this, I guess that's the moon in the background there, I don't know, whatever that is there, that maybe it's a blemish on my lens or whatever, but I don't like it, it's in the way. Let's say I want to get rid of that thing there. Let's go ahead and zoom in on it. Yeah, it's probably the moon. I don't know. I want to get rid of it. I don't like it there. So I want to do that. I need to make sure I'm selecting the layer that I want to affect. I don't want to affect the brightness and contrast adjustment layer because the moon's not on that layer, right? The moon's on the layer with the photo. It's a very important technique and skill to learn when you're starting off with Photoshop is always make sure you're on the layer you want to affect. I want to affect the picture. I got to be on the picture. Now, I could right click and duplicate and make a new copy to make the adjustment on so I don't damage the original. That's why I made this copy to start with, right? I can make all of my adjustments on here and know that I've got this copy down here that's the original that I'm not hurting. I'm just going to do all of my fixes on this and leave this one down here alone. Okay, let's go ahead and rename this. My rename option. Isn't there a rename option on there? I can do it this way. I just click in here. I can type in here. So let's say adjustments. So I know this is what I'm adjusting. And I'm going to grab one of those healing tools and I'm just going to go for spot healing. And you're going to love this. Boom, gone. You'll learn that technique, don't worry. He's going to get into that. Wasn't that fun? Moon, gone. That. Crazy. Didn't like the moon, now the moon's gone. Now watch, I'm going to turn off that layer. And you'll see moon, no moon. Moon, no moon. The power of layers. Okay? This is one of the reasons I made this copy, so I can make all my adjustments here. And I have my original below. As I make changes, I can turn on and off the one that I made my changes to see what effect my changes have. All right, last thing I want to get into. How do I make that side-by-side picture? Let me make some dramatic changes to this so we can see the difference. I might not go quite to this level if I just want to make it look good, but I want to make some dramatic changes so we can see the difference. Let's go ahead and add a new adjustment, and let's go for a vibrance adjustment. Crank the vibrance up a little bit here, and change that. And I think I'm gonna want let's go for color balance. And let's slide it a little cooler. Hair that way. A hair that way. And let's make the highlights. Make those hearts pop out a little bit there. All right, I'm happy enough with that. Let's see the difference I've made. I turn those all off. That's the original picture. Turn them back on. There's a new one. So you can see there's definitely a difference, right? Okay. So I'm going to combine these into one layer that I can affect. I'm going to hold down Control, and select multiple layers. I'm going to right click on my layers. I'm going to merge layers. When I merge layers, those effects now are permanent. I don't do this unless I know I'm done. Does that make sense? Because the whole point of having those separate layers was that I could turn them on and off and affect them later when I want to. By doing this, I've now made that impossible. And I've wiped out that purpose. So I only do this when I know that I'm done and I want to finish the photo. So I've merged them. I can do that same thing again. I can turn it off and on. Oh, there's the different pictures. All right, now I want to slice this picture down the middle and have half be the old and half be the new. It's way easier than you think. I'm just going to bring this line in here. And do you notice how it snaps itself in the center? See how it's kind of jumping to the middle there? I'm going to bring a guide and snap it in the middle. And I am going to take this little rectangular marquee tool, they call it. This is a selector tool. Helps me select things. And I'm going to use my guide. I usually go beyond the edge of the picture. Do you see how I'm like above the picture here? I want to make sure I get the whole thing. So I'm going to go beyond the edge, right down the middle. And you see how it's snapping? It's using those purple guides, those temporary guides that it makes to snap for me. I'm going to let it make sure it grabs the whole left-hand side there. And I'm just going to hit delete. I'm going to right-click, deselect. I'm going to hold down Control and hit my semicolon button. That's that keyboard shortcut we used before to turn the guides off. Do you remember that? Hold down Control, semicolon, and there we go. Side by side. I've deleted the left-hand side of my new picture. Side by side. You can see the difference in the two. And that's all I need you to submit, this final picture here where you can see the side by side of the two. And I can see the new and the old. Now I highly recommend you make a copy of the layer and turn it off before you delete anything. So you've got all the changes. And as you go through and you finalize this and you get to this point, please, if you're not sure the steps to follow, call me over. I'll help you get this all set up so you can make this pretty and done here. So go ahead and follow his steps. Go through and do all the things that he has you do. It's only about 3 days worth of video. You've got a week and a half, so you've got more than double that amount of time. So I want you to spend the time and go ahead and take one of your pictures in this project and do all of the things to it. I want you to get some experience in modifying your pictures and improving them and making them better. The goal is to make them better, not just to modify them. You want to improve them and make them look like a professional has made them. All pictures can be improved in some way. Find those ways you can improve them. But for this project, I want to see that you've at least gone and done all the things in some manner, in some fashion. I didn't have to delete the moon in here, right? The moon was there. It was okay. I did it so I could show you that I could use that spot healing brush and get rid of it. So I used that as my thing to get rid of there. I also did it because in this background of the sky, it was really easy to get rid of. I could do it. So if you have questions as you work, please ask. You've got plenty of time for this project. Please don't use that time to waste. I think you're going to like this one probably better than the last assignment because you get to actually work with your picture. Plus, I think this guy's a little bit more interesting to listen to. So please go ahead and do that. All right.